Um, I'm going to wait just for one more minute. Okay, Caitlin?
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so welcome to Caitlin Suter and Caitlin Aceto. Good. The two Caitlins are joining us from Edgewood College in Madison, Wisconsin. And we thank you both for being part of our presentations today. We have had nice attendance from our families, and I know that people are excited to hear about Edgewood and the cutting edge. For all of the families, we have had numerous students from Cove attend Edgewood College, and we have at least 2 or 3 there currently. So so thank you both for joining us today, and I will mute myself and you can get started.
Sounds good. Thanks, Louisa. Yeah, so my name is Caitlin Kelly. I know on the screen it says Caitlin Suter. That's my maiden name. I serve as the Transition and Alumni Program Coordinator for the Cutting Edge program here at Edgewood College. And then joining me today is also my colleague, Katie Aceto. She is our Program Coordinator Assistant. She's in our main office, so that's why she's got her mask on. So she'll be joining me for our presentation today. And then also on our team, we have Marissa Blackmore, who is our program director, and Nicole Rorty, who is our academic program coordinator. So Nicole handles everything that's academic related, and then I handle everything that's related to transition, so independent living, employment, things like that. Okay, so Edgewood College. So Edgewood is located in Madison, Wisconsin. We are just a few minutes from the downtown area of Madison, right down the road from UW. We are located on 55 acres of land right off of Lake Wingra. So Lake Wingra is a small lake in the city of Madison. It's really beautiful. There's lots to do. It's right by the Arboretum. We have approximately 1,500 undergraduate students here at Edgewood, and the average class size is 15 students, so fairly small in comparison to the school right down the road over at UW. The Cutting Edge program specifically, we serve a wide variety of disabilities, so anything from autism, Down syndrome, learning disability, intellectual disability, quite a wide variety, but generally our students have intellectual and developmental disabilities. So our program first was piloted in 2007 and officially launched in 2008. In 2018, we began both our pre-college programs and our alumni program. So our pre-college is sort of like a 3-day experience for students who are interested in college to come to campus, spend the night, get what it feels like to be here at college. That's programming we offer in the summertime. And then our alumni program provides support to our students after they graduate. So there are a few different memberships that they can opt into after graduation and continue some of the support that they were receiving while they were here with us. So we have a couple of different types of cutting edge student. The first type is a degree seeking student. So that is someone who is on a traditional degree seeking pathway. They are admitted both through general admissions as well as the cutting edge program. They take all of their classes for credit. They need to get 120 credits to graduate, just like all undergraduate students here at Edgewood. And then they will follow a degree plan that has specific general education requirements along with any courses that are required by their major. Right now, about a third of our students are on that degree seeking pathway. Okay. We also have non-degree seeking students. So these are students who are admitted only through the cutting edge program. They take classes for both credit and for audit. When the student is auditing a course, that simply means that they're taking that course, but they're not receiving a grade. So it doesn't count towards college credit. However, the student is still getting the experience of being in the class and learning the material. The nice thing about auditing a course is that it allows us to make modifications to the curriculum. If a student is taking a course for credit, that means that they have to meet all of the requirements of that course. They can receive their accommodations, but we cannot modify the curriculum. The different certificates that we offer through that non-degree pathway are a paraeducator certificate. That's for students who are hoping to work in the schools with kids as a teacher's assistant or paraprofessional. We have a 21st century skills for employment certificate. That is aimed at students who are hoping to work in kind of a business or administrative setting. So they take courses in computer science, English, writing, communications, things like that. And then we also have a customizable certificate. So that allows a student to explore any area that they're interested in. They can take courses for credit or for audit, whatever works best for them. So those are kind of the three different options that we have for certificate seekers. Our students generally are here anywhere from 2 to 6 years, depending on their pathway. For a degree seeking student, we say anywhere from 4 to 6, just like any other college student. And then our certificate seekers are generally here from 2 to 4 years. So the cutting edge experience, we always say that we provide wraparound services. So that means that our students are included in the full campus community. So social inclusion, they participate in events here on campus, they host their own events here on campus. Academic inclusion, our students are in the regular education classroom with all of their Edgewood College peers. We have a few classes that are specifically only for cutting edge students, but outside of those couple of classes, our students are in the classroom with their peers. We have inclusive housing. Our students live on campus, most of them, and they're sprinkled kind of all throughout. So they live in all of the different dorm buildings here on campus amongst their peers. And then our students are also employed either here on campus or out in the community, kind of depending on where they're at in our program. So a question that we often get from prospective students is, how do cutting edge students spend their time? So any student in a given week is going to be taking 3 to 4 courses for credit or for audit. So that means a student is in class anywhere from generally 6 to 8 hours per week. They study or work on homework with their course coaches. We'll talk about course coaches in a little bit here. They work in their internship or their practicum. A practicum is kind of like a student teaching or observation in the classroom for 4 to 10 hours per week. They meet with other mentors, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They participate in various groups that we have on campus. So Cutting Edge specifically holds wellness, mindfulness, and fitness groups for our students. They do transportation training, whether that's learning how to use the bus or learning how to use cab or Uber or other transportation services here in Madison. And they keep track of all of these commitments through this daily schedule, our weekly schedule. So you can see on the screen, we've got kind of a snapshot of what Wednesday might look like for a student. We have 25 students, which means we have 25 different schedules. Some students need a schedule that is more structured than this. Some students need a schedule that's less structured than this. We really work with the student and their family to decide what would be the most appropriate for that particular student. So you can see in the schedule, they've got their fitness group, a wellness group, they do some studying, they have a class, they work in the evening. Not every day necessarily is going to be as busy as this one. Again, it just kind of depends on what the student needs. So our peer supports, we have all of our peer supports are provided by peers. So undergraduate students here at Edgewood College, we employ and train these students to work with our cutting edge students. So the first kind of peer support that we have are job coaches. So those are folks who might accompany our student to work if they need that employment support. So maybe they need someone to model what they should be doing, make sure that they stay focused while at work. They provide that employment support while they're at work. Not all of our students need job coaches. However, if that is something they need, that's something we can provide. We also have course coaches. So these are folks who go to class with some of our students to provide in-class support if the student is in need of that support. So they might help take notes, facilitate group participation, help during group projects, things like that. They also will meet with our students outside of class, usually for 2 hours per week per class. So our students, if they're taking 4 classes, that means that they have 4 different course coaches that are providing that support for those courses. Those course coaches essentially serve as kind of a tutor to make sure that the student is organized, has time management down, breaks down assignments, things like that. We have independent living mentors. Those are folks who live in the residence halls amongst our students, so not necessarily in the same hall or the same building as our students, but they're here on campus. And they provide daily living support. So they help students with things like chores, grocery shopping, cooking, roommate relationships, some social coaching, things like that. Laundry is another big one that they help students with. These folks are also on duty on nights and on weekends to help provide kind of on-campus support for our students if ever something urgent were to come up. We have community engagement mentors. We always say that these are the fun mentors. These are the folks who facilitate different events for our students, whether that is something our program is putting on or the college is hosting. They're the folks who make sure that our students are engaged in the community, whether that be the Edgewood community or the Madison community. They also meet with our students weekly to make sure that they have weekend plans. So making sure students are not just sitting around in their dorm room all weekend with nothing to do. They really encourage our students to get out there and to socialize and provide that support. We have health and wellness mentors. So these are folks who facilitate different groups for our students. So mindfulness, fitness, and wellness, like I talked about earlier, they follow a curriculum that we have put together for them. And then we also have volunteer peer mentors. So these are folks who are just volunteering their time. They hang out with our students socially. They maybe will help the students study once in a while, but in general, they're there as just kind of that social peer support. Okay, cost, everyone's favorite topic. So our program kind of falls in the middle in terms of programs here in Wisconsin and in the Midwest. So you can see our cost for a non-degree student includes both the program fee and tuition for that student. So a non-degree seeking student is taking courses part-time. So that's why there's that reduced tuition cost. And the program support fee is built into the cost. For our degree seeking students, they do pay regular tuition just like any Edgewood College student would. And then they also pay that support fee for our program specifically. That support fee is what allows us to pay all of those peer mentors that we just talked about who work with our students. Please note that These costs do not include room and board or textbooks. So room and board generally, if a student is living on campus, is going to be anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 per year, and may or may not include a meal plan, just depending on where the student is living. So some funding sources, if you have not checked out thinkcollege.net, please do that. That is a wonderful resource to be using as kind of you search for post-secondary options for your students. In terms of financial aid, our degree-seeking students are able to access financial aid just like any Edgewood College student would be able to. So anything that a FAFSA is going to provide, our degree-seeking students have access to. Our non-degree seeking students do have access to some financial aid because we are a comprehensive transition program, and that includes Pell Grants and SEOG grants if the student is financially eligible. Our program is able to accept IRIS funding. So IRIS, for folks who are not in Wisconsin, IRIS is a long-term care provider here in the state of Wisconsin. They generally will provide funding for things that are related to independent living and employment. So they can provide funding for some of our cutting edge courses, our independent living supports, our job coaching supports, those types of services. And then we also have scholarships. So a degree seeking student can access any scholarship that's being offered by the college as well as our program. And then our non-degree seeking students do have access to our cutting edge scholarship as well. So our admissions process. So our admissions cycle is currently open for the fall of 2022. So students who would like to apply for our program should apply 1 year prior to their desired start date. So students who want to start in the fall of 22 should be applying now. Students who want to start in fall of 2023 would apply next fall in 2022. So just know we operate on kind of a year in advance process. So our application will be open from September 1st to November 30th. Students will complete an online application, and then they will also send in some additional materials. So that will include an essay about why they want to go to college, a letter of recommendation, transcripts, a recent photo. They'll complete a FAFSA as well. They'll send in their IEP or reevaluation or neuropsych evaluation if they've had one. And then we also will send a parent evaluation and teacher evaluations as well. So there are a few different parts to that application. So I encourage you folks, if you're going to apply, start the process a little bit early so that there's plenty of time to kind of gather all these different pieces. After we've received all of those applications, in December, we will notify applicants if they are moving forward with an interview. Those interviews will take place in early January, and then in February is when folks receive their admission status letters. So that's the timeline that's specific to our program. Not all programs follow that timeline, so I encourage you as you're looking at other options to just keep the different timelines in mind. So now it's time for questions, and I just saw one pop into the chat. So go ahead and send them over. So the first question that I'm seeing is, what are the post-Edgewood paths typically for both degree and non-degree students? That's a really good question. It really depends on the student and the pathway that they've chosen. So I'll start with our degree-seeking students. Generally, we've seen our degree-seeking students pursue degrees in areas of communications and studies in education. And so for communication students, we've seen them be employed in a variety of settings in the Madison area. So we've got one who's working for a sports team. We've got another who is working at like a laboratory setting. So kind of a variety there. For our non-degree students, we have a lot of students who graduate from our program with their paraprofessional certificate. So that's working in the schools with kids. For those students, we typically see them employed at private schools, after-school programs, daycares, preschools, some public schools, just kind of depending on the student and whether that's a good fit for them. We also have students with their customizable certificate who are working with children, so they don't necessarily need to have that specific paraprofessional certificate in order to work in that field. We also have students who are working in areas of, insurance. Again, we've got someone in the lab setting, food service, just kind of a wide variety. But our students are employed 3 times higher than the national average rate for folks with disabilities. So 85% of our alumni are currently employed. So we're really proud of that statistic. And we start looking at employment during the student's final year with us. So that really serves as their transition year. So we're working really hard on those employment supports during their final year. The next question I see is for the 2-year non-degree program, are credits transferable? Yeah, I can go ahead and move presentation back. Yeah, so if a student comes to us and they have maybe taken classes at a community college or another institution, generally those credits will transfer. Edgewood College is a little bit picky in the sense that like a math class at one institution might not transfer for exactly the same math class here at Edgewood. And if those credits don't directly transfer, they will at least count towards that 120 credit for graduation. For our certificate seeking students, that looks a little bit different because each certificate has a different number of credits that they need. So for our paraprofessional students, for example, that certificate is a 48 credit certificate because that's what the state of Wisconsin requires a paraprofessional to have. Now those 48 credits can be in really any area. So if a student comes to us and they already have 12 credits from another institution, that can count towards their paraprofessional certificate. All right, other questions from folks? Feel free to put them in the chat.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your presentation. That was excellent. As I said, our students from Cove who have attended have really benefited from your program a great deal, and I stay in touch with several of them. So it's great, and we appreciate all that you do, and we thank you for your time today. And if you are willing to share your presentation with me, I can share it with anybody who requests it. And then if anybody has any further questions, I can reach out to you.
Yeah, definitely. I will be sure to send over this PowerPoint to you, our contact information. I'll just bring it up one more time. So the best way to get a hold of us is really through this cutting edge email that goes to our main email inbox. So things won't get lost in junk mail. We've kind of experienced that recently where emails have been going to junk mail. But this cutting edge email is generally the best one to reach out to. And then this phone number that's up here is actually my extension. So if you call this number, you'll be getting me on the phone. So if you have questions about the application process or whether this program might be a good fit for your student, of course, feel free to reach out either over the phone or by email.
Great. What about visiting, like coming for a visit?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we can certainly set up individual visits with folks, but the thing that we recommend the most to families is to attend one of our open houses. Our next open house will be March 11th, usually in the morning. So I think they usually go from like 9 to noon. During that open house, we will share information about our program, but the other really valuable piece of that programming is we will have a student panel in which our students will share their experiences with all of our visitors. We will have a parent panel where our parents will share their experiences as parents in our program. And then there will be also a guided tour of our campus. So in an individual visit, we can do some of that, but we can't have the student and parent panel. And that's what we hear from folks is really the most valuable. So we really encourage folks to attend one of those open houses if they can.
Great. And did you see if someone wanted to apply for next fall and the open house isn't until March, can they come before then?
Yes. Yep. So if you are wanting to apply for next fall, of course, that March open house is after our application deadline. So feel free to reach out and we can set up a visit for this fall still.
Great, great. Okay. Thank you so much for everything.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Well, we appreciate you, and I'm sure I will be in touch in the near future.
Sounds good. All
Thanks
right. Thanks so
again.
much, everybody.
Okay, thank you.